Today we had Mckeith from Naruby Wellness on the podcast. She's a colonic expert, has done over 25,000 colonics in her day, and seen a lot of people done the cleanse, spoke about different parasites from different parts of the world, big on parasites, and just in general, like why colonics are a part of the health journey for someone that may possibly need it.
Yeah, we spoke about like good water, some fucking crazy parasites coming out of Mexico. We went like kind of a little bit into conspiracy kind of stuff, but which isn't really conspiracy, it's just the truth. But it was pretty deep and it was fucking epic. So
yeah, and like gas, how people think they have these problems. This one guy had like a swollen something for 2 years and it was gas, and all the testing couldn't do it, but a colonic got rid of it. So a little bubble in his stomach. I love hearing stories. Don't we all like hearing stories of sitting around the fire?
Yeah, fully. And spend your life sitting around the fire.
Hey guys, welcome to the Corrective Culture Podcast. This is the first time I've ever introduced this. And we're here with Mckeith from Naruby Wellness, which is an old, I guess we'd call each other friends now, wouldn't we? Somehow over the years.
Well, you're about to say an old flame.
No. I don't take that one off.
And just like maybe one of her friends or something. Yeah. But
oh, it's so funny.
No.
yeah, Callan.
Anyway, let's continue.
Yes.
Let's continue. Okay, so you're the colonic lady on the coast, eh? You've become the colonic lady on the coast, and you're the one that people talk about because your ways are a little different from other ways. And we first met each other because you had really bad back pain, and you ended up getting surgery, did you? Or
I got some work done, by a doctor.
Yeah. How are you now with that?
Oh my gosh, I'm the best I've been in nearly 18 years with my back.
That's good.
Yep. And I got to avoid a spinal fusion surgery because that's what they wanted to do. But I didn't have to go down that path.
Yeah,
thank
they always
God.
want to do that. They always want to do that.
Oh my God. They literally told me that like, oh no, Brisbane will love hearing that you're coming because they find this really fun. I'm like,
whoa.
Okay, that's my cue not to go.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of work and colonics being one of them for me.
Yeah.
That really, I've like put in the hard yards to get myself to this point though. But I'm here and I can bend without being hospitalized. So that's nice.
I can say like you look really healthy now.
Yeah.
And I remember when you first come in, you were in this state of inflammation. You were so inflamed.
I was so inflamed. Like every inch of me was inflamed.
And were you not into the colonics then?
I was getting colonics.
Right.
So I've been getting colonics for 9 years, personally getting them between an open and a closed system. And then it was literally around that time that I really honed into colonics. And that was the beginning point of changing everything for me, for my back, for my overall health, dropping inflammation, and my mental health.
Yeah.
Most importantly for me and my particular journey with colonics.
Because I remember at the time I was like, God, you got every symptom of a parasite infection.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to have a parasite.
Yeah.
And you ended up having them, right?
Yep. I was riddled and I was so inflamed. Like even through my colonics, the amount of inflammation that was coming through was like extreme. And I usually have that. My body's naturally producing excess inflammation to go and protect my back and protect the injury. But I mean, inflammation holds no mercy. So my whole system was starting to do the same thing. And because of my mental health at that state, with how severe my back injury was, now I understand I was just ultimately creating the most beautiful environment for these critters to come and have me as their host. And
so what do you mean by that? Like what were you doing at the time, or what are you aware of now that you were doing?
Well, I think my mental health was, I'm going to go a little bit woo-woo here, but my overall vibration of a human being was low. Everything about me was really actually low. I was in a serious low mental state from my back injury and the fact I was struggling so much. I was in pain all the time. I was highly inflamed. I realized at the time that even down to the water I was drinking was really producing a highly acidic environment, which I now know that they love and adore. And I wasn't ultimately looking after myself. I wasn't proactively doing cleanses. I did your cleanse, probably about, I think it was about, it was while I was doing work with you.
That was in the old space. That would have been at least
4 years ago?
Probably like 4 years ago,
Yeah, I think it was 4 years ago I did it.
Yeah.
And that was the first proactive cleanse I ever did.
I remember you said they came out of you then too.
Yeah. Yep. I had everything coming out of me there. And like even watching what my system was doing, what my headspace was doing, seeing that it was, I like to use the analogy of like my soul self and my ego self were like fucking at war during that cleanse. And, I now realize it was like, this was a chemical reaction happening inside of me via these parasites that I had harvesting in my system, the acidity in my system, like I was highly acidic, was changing everything and the directory of how my entire being was functioning. And doing that cleanse, it like brought it all to light. And that first 5 days, I was like, I'm out, tapping out. This is so hard.
Yeah.
And my pain was the worst it had ever been. And, I kept going and I pushed through it, and I'm so fucking thankful I did, because it changed everything for me, and it brought a whole new light to like that connection between my gut health, my mental health. I came out such a different version of myself and my overall functioning as a human as well.
Yeah, we had a endometriosis specialist on the podcast recently, which will come out soon, and she was mentioning how the parasites will almost tell you, no, just don't take those subs. This isn't good for you. This is, they'll get in your head and think trying to survive.
Yeah.
Which is basically in those first 5 days when you have it, it's like when it's really bad for people, that's when you know, oh, this person probably has parasites. Because like for me, nothing really changes for me when I do the cleanse. But if you have a bad infection, it's like you suffer.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that parasites, they are a dark entity, and it's how an entity can form in a way that it can physically harvest in you, not just the energetics. You know what dark entities are in like the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And they love a low vibration. So people who naturally what's the word? Where you like extrude light, dark entities don't want to naturally, on a vibrational level, gravitate towards you because you are the light. And I feel like I'm a huge believer that these little fuckers are literally the physical being of a dark entity.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
and
I'd agree with that.
you're on the offense on them. You're one of the angels taking them down.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm the light that they're like, fuck no, don't go, don't follow the light.
Yeah.
My tubing tunnel, they're like, no.
Yeah, you'll be like a legendary law in the parasite in the parasite consciousness.
Yeah. I had like the first time I did the cleanse, I remember it got to day 6 and I felt like just like I was going to go into psychosis. I needed something, like I needed a burger or something. So I just went and had a burger and I was crying as I ate this burger. And
What burger was it?
It was at Just Burgers in Leaderville in WA. And it was the Wagyu, like organic. Well, it wasn't Wagyu actually, it was an organic beef burger. And I was just so emotional. Like looking back, I'm like, I was riddled with parasites, 100%. Like I had traveled the world constantly to Mexico and all sorts of shit. So I was like, this is fucked up. Like, and then it happened again the second time and I pushed through like that. And it was the next day I pushed through where I was like, I can do this. I just felt like amazing. It's like, so
that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's that dark entities.
It's that war.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's going to win this round pretty much of your conscious soul being and what I call the ego. The ego is that low vibration. It's going to always want to keep you here baseline because that's a safe space for it. And that's where the war comes into play. I see it in the colonic room all the time. I harp on a lot about clients coming in and setting their intention for what they want to get out of their colonic, because if they don't start to consciously want to let go, and that's on all realms of the word, because we really do help clients tap into the emotional element of what's going on with their gut health, what's harvesting in them, what created it. Was it a physical byproduct? Was it an emotional byproduct? But if they don't come in willing to step into that realm or genuinely want to see that change for themselves, it won't work. I mean, it will not work. Nothing will happen on that bed. Luckily, gravity eventually takes over when they go to the toilet, and it's like World War III on that loo. But during the colonic, every single inch of their being goes, nah, we are not letting go of this.
Yeah.
And so I always preach about, setting the intention and almost like overcoming the war of your ego. Because your ego is not going to want to let you go there.
It's the same with working on the body. I had a girl the other day who was like, her hips were just so loose. Like the way I was doing internal external rotation, I was like you feel it. Hey, when as soon as you grab a body and you're doing tests on them or any body work and their tissues really like you just feel, they're a stressed person or they're really relaxed. Their nervous system's really relaxed. Hey, so it's the exact same thing.
And we feel that on so this is why, a huge element of what I do differently in my clinic is we are extremely hands-on. My left hand is pretty much touching your abdomen the entire treatment, and my other one is touching your tube. The reason why I've got my hand on your tube is I can literally feel the energetics coming through the tube. Like, I'm not kidding you. I used to be so sensitive to it, too sensitive. I would get vibrations coming up my arm. Sometimes I'd break out into a rash after touching someone's tube. Like, I had to really find this safe space to be able to continue doing colonics because I was becoming too involved, I guess, in that client's healing, that I was starting to purge for them through my hand.
And if you don't protect your energy, you lose your energy.
Massively.
Yeah.
But my left hand, I'm continuously feeling, and you can tell, sometimes a client will come in, and because we're ultimately trying to massage your intestine, so your small and your large intestine, that's the goal, because that's where we're feeling for different blockages, whether or not it's gas, like we were talking about outside, whether or not it's compacted fecal matter, whether or not it's a twist in the colon, that's something that we're feeling for.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes when a client comes in and they are so tense, and they are holding a responsive tension in their stomach, I can't even touch them. I go to touch their abdo and everything goes woof. And I'll say to the client, like, okay, I need you to try and relax. And they're like, I am relaxed. I'm like, oh, girlfriend, you are not relaxed.
Yeah.
But they're not even conscious that their being is going into that protective mechanism. And it's usually a trauma response mechanism that they do, because at the end of the day, your gut is your emotional brain. And so that I always then go into and explain to them, like, I want you to understand that this is a subconscious trauma response that your system has created to protect your emotional brain. And it's fucking fascinating. I'm telling you, like, a few colonics in, and I'll bring it to their awareness again, go, have you noticed a difference today? And they're like, oh my God, my stomach, I can feel you touching my organ now. Like, it's not that immense tense that you guys would feel every day when you're touching your clients and you're seeing how different areas of their body are responding to your physical touch. It's 99% of the time a trauma response, whether or not it's been a physical trauma or an emotional trauma for them. It's the way the physical being knows how to protect itself to not go there.
Fuck, that's pretty cool.
How do you deal with, like, someone who, because obviously there's the unconscious body and the mammalian body that needs, like, if they're not feeling safe on an energetic level, they will shut down. How do you, like, do you just allow them to kind of open up? I mean, because trauma is such a deep thing, and obviously you can't be going with them like, hey, take me back to your childhood.
And, I don't, the biggest thing with when I'm setting the tone for their colonic, and this is why I'm such a huge advocate about a closed system. So a closed system is what we perform, where it's therapist-led entirely. We insert your tubing. We are in full control of your water. We are monitoring you physically, emotionally, mentally on that bed. But more importantly, we're monitoring your water and your internal pressure gauge. So I'm watching every inch of you. and how you're responding. I'm watching for their toes wiggling. I'm watching for how their breath changes. I'm watching for goosebumps. I'm watching for a euphoric sensation. Some clients can go into a full euphoric on that bed. But the biggest thing and the most important thing I start with is knowledge is power and knowledge is ease. So I step them through absolutely every inch of what they're about to dive into.
Yeah.
You know, I explain exactly how the speculum looks, which is what I insert into them. I explain exactly how the speculum works in, you know, I'm attaching this tube to this end because this is already inside of you and this is what's actually going to catch your fecal matter, and then it goes through the viewer and straight into sewage.
Cool.
And, you know, and I explain to them, you're going to feel different sensations. You're going to feel sometimes a euphoric feeling. And because I remember my very first ever colonic, a closed system, I wasn't explained anything to. It was literally, and in fact, we're trained not to explain it to you because we don't want to put fear into you about the speculum. But my belief is your energetic body is going to fear me more if it feels like I'm keeping something away from it. Therefore, I'd rather just, you know, talk about the elephant in the room because you're going to then understand it and you're going to be a lot more willing to release into it if you know exactly how it works. So that's a huge thing for me, is knowledge is power.
Definitely.
I explain everything. When I'm dealing with clients who have that trauma response, like I always say to them, you know, your body's biggest lesson that it wants you to have is 90% of the time just through awareness. So it's not that we have to turn this session into a counseling session. It's that when we are going through the colon, right? I have this beautiful diagram that shows where within your large intestine, which is your colon, you harvest a byproduct of an emotion. So there's a doctor that was able to pinpoint where along your colon you have a directly linked nerve from each point, and we number those 1 to 24. And that nerve goes to another organ in the body. And we know that different organs are responsible for different emotional responses. So as we're running this water and we hit a common block, you know, I know how to read my machine now. So I know how long I've been running water for, at what pace. So I know roughly where I'll get up to in their colon. And this is, again, why I'm always feeling. And if we get to that point twice, I'll say to them, right, you could feel we got that water up to that point. I want you to read number 4 for me, and I want you to have a look and read the corresponding organ and its emotion attached to it. And then they'll read it. 90% of the time they go, oh my God, that's so relevant for me. And just that awareness, that connecting dot point where the emotional brain has been able to connect to the physical byproduct can quite literally be enough for us to get around it and pull it out.
Cool.
And so much so that I've had clients who haven't been releasing. And then I've sometimes intuitively kind of gone into a conversation, or I'll pinpoint where they're getting up to and I'll prompt a question. And I've had it that many times where a client will be like, actually, my mother, and woo.
Oh, shit.
It's like Niagara Falls, honestly, just opens its floodgates and the release will come through.
Wow.
I have an emergency purge. So you guys keep talking, I'll be 2 minutes.
All this shit talk's got you going.
I know. Yeah, I took 6 purge last night. So,
Yeah.
And extract. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Give me a minute, guys. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, that's an ad for purge.
Yeah. Well, this what's that? No, it's all right. It's all right. That goes into like, because you hear sometimes, you know how people are against things of, like people are against cleanses, right? Because they believe that our liver should do it and our kidneys should do it, and they think it's normal that we have detox organs, that we don't need to assist that, right? And these are the same mentalities that I think of. They think it evolved to detox all the shit in the food, all this synthetic shit that it never had. If you think about really the level of detox as a primal human would have been, what would they have been detoxing? Just their natural bodily stuff, a little bit of stuff in food.
Fully.
Where's the chemicals coming from?
Yeah.
Now it's all this shit, and they think that we shouldn't assist that. And the bottom line is, all I know is that when I got that parasite infection in Tokyo and I went and got a colonic, they were out of me. You know, like they were in me, I got a colonic, I watch them go out of me. That's the bottom line. That's how I know they're worth it, because they're not in me anymore, you know? And it helps the detox process. So do you ever have like people push back on you and because clinically you see the results and they're looking for a paper for everything. It's like that story. Like, can you tell that story what you told me out there about, I've never really thought about gas as blockages a lot of the time. You always think about fecal matter. And I know that gas is a byproduct of a lot of food intolerances, right? And especially if there's some sort of restriction in there. So that story about that guy with the gas pocket, can you go into that?
Yeah. Oh, gas. Honestly, gas is probably the hardest element we come against during a colonic because it can morph its shape. So, and not only does it morph its shape, you've got to realize that gas isn't just a methane fart. Gas is energetics. So it's being created by something that has a frequency to it, whether or not it's food, whether or not it's a parasite, whether or not it's fungal, so candida, or a thought. Because fear, the direct physical byproduct of fear is gas production. So when you're dealing with gas itself, it is morphing all the time. So, you know, people can be shitting every single day and yet they'll have the same pain in the one area. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm still pooing, yet I've got this pain. And 90% of the time I'll say, once I have a feel around, I'm like, it's gas. No, but how? I've still pushed a poo through. I'm like, you've got to realize that gas moves. It can literally change shape and position so easily. And so you can still have byproduct coming straight past it and yet it's not cracking the gas bubble and physically getting it out. Something fascinating that you guys will really like, and I've seen this through doing, I was just saying to Callan, I went through my books yesterday and I've done like, I think it's just under or just over like 25,000 colonics.
Holy shite.
Yeah.
lot,
So I have a
I
lot.
thought you were about to say nearly 1,000. I was like, dude, 25,000?
Yeah, colonics.
That's experience.
Yeah.
Fuck, you know,
So a lot of case studies.
Yeah.
But
buttholes.
you can literally see that parasites surround themselves in a gas bubble to prevent them from easily coming through the system.
Cool.
Because without fail, when someone moves like a bigger parasite, like your tapeworms or your enlarged liver flukes, or even like, there was this, what's the other one I've got? There's one other one that I see quite commonly. Without fail, a gas bubble will come through the colonic first, and then this little critter will come out all by itself, nothing else around it. There's no fecal matter, there's no mucus, there's nothing, just it will come. And then there'll be another gas bubble and then whatever was trapped behind it.
I gotta tell you on that case, when the parasite came out of me, that's how it came out of me.
Yeah.
Really?
It was like, you know how I said it almost like fell out?
Yeah.
Like it was gas.
It's gas.
Right? And then it just come out by itself.
Yeah.
It was like water. Like there was nothing else.
Yeah.
It was relative. That's why people asked. I was like, I didn't really have to go sifting through anything. I just saw it there.
Yeah.
I picked it up.
And the fascinating thing is I'm of belief that it's not just them dropping their methane when they die, because I've seen them come out alive and it still had the same parasite gas. So there's proof that it's not just the methane that they're naturally dropping during their die-off. So they're so smart. They're using this gas as their protective bubble.
Wow.
But yes, so I have numerous clients who are paramedics and nurses, and they always say to me, you would be mortified at how many hospital ED admissions we get that end up being trapped gas, because people think it's their gallbladder, their kidney or their liver or their appendix, and it literally ends up being gas. And I was like, well, funny you say that. I had an older gentleman come to me after his daughter had told him to come, because she was already my client. He had a lump low on the left-hand side of his colon. Well, he didn't realize it was colon. For 2.5 years, and it was getting bigger and it was hurting him every time he touched it. So he went and did the right thing as per the medical system, went and got a colonoscopy, which is the camera up your bum, and it only can go as far as your large intestine. Keep in mind, your colonoscopy, they're ultimately looking for something that they can medically remove or medically treat.
Yeah.
And it came back that it was completely clear because he was convinced it was a growth.
Yeah.
He then went and got an ultrasound. Same thing, came back completely clear. So his daughter said to him, go and try this clinic and see if there's anything that they can maybe bring to the table. As soon as I touched his stomach, I said to him, I think this is trapped gas. And his words were, there's no fucking way a trapped fart has been giving me the issues that this thing has been giving me. And immediately he said, but I still poo every day. I'm like, it's irrelevant because this can literally morph its shape and your poo will go straight past it. Anyway, on the second colonic, it took us to this huge gas bubble came out, so much so I actually grabbed his tubing because it was rumbling as this thing came out. Instantaneously, the lump deflated and he had no pain.
Wow.
That was 2.5 years gas had literally been trapped, causing him discomfort. And I do think it definitely, yes, it morphs its shape, but, you know, I call it like a concrete wall because it definitely stops flow. There's certain elements when we're doing a colonic and you can literally sometimes have to stop a colonic and send the client to the toilet and hope that gravity, once they change their pelvis and sit on the loo, will actually be enough to physically bring through this gas because it can be so hard to break. But again, I'm a huge believer that, you know, when I see clients combating gas on the bed and you see their whole body get these sensations, tingling as if they're doing a breath work, right?
Yeah.
So they get the tingling in their hands, tingling in their feet, full body goosebumps. Some of them literally go euphoric.
Yeah.
And it's just because they have trapped gas.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, you reckon you got that?
Yeah.
Well, when I was in Texas, it happened pretty bad after antibiotics, and I was like waking up in pain. There was 2 nights there where I was like couldn't sleep because of it, and I was like massaging my organs, and I was like lifting it up and pushing it down, and I was doing everything. I even got a massage on my organs when I was there, but it went away for a little bit and came back, and I can still like. Funny enough, like I had sweet potato yesterday, and I feel like maybe potato is like what brings the gas on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it doesn't come out, you know. It's like it feels like it's in there, you know. And it's like.
And that's, you know, and there's a particular parasite that harvests underneath your right rib cage as well. And a lot of the time people come in and they're like, oh, I just always get this pain, like when I'm trying to take a deep breath and immediately going, especially if they go under that rib cage, I'm like, oh, I think it's gas from a parasite infection in that area.
Yeah, well, I know the ileocecal valve sort of in that region there, that's where they breed and whatnot. Hey, they can.
So they breed right around the ileocecal valve. But a big thing with your ileocecal valve as well, when you don't have like sufficient flow from your small intestine into your large intestine. So the ileocecal valve is that connection point. It's a little valve that only opens out one way to prevent none of your dirty debris in your bin, being your colon, to get back into your small intestine. But when that flow... Hello.
Hey, honey.
So cute.
Oi.
When that flow is not...
Oi. Oi.
You can lie down. You got to lie down though. Come on, lie down.
Down. There you go.
When that flow is not sufficient enough, the poo in that small intestine will actually ferment and create its own gas. And that is what blocks the valve from your small intestine to your large intestine. So throughout the colonic, I am pumping into that area as I'm like physically massaging. And there's a technique where I literally go around and then I bring it down into your right hand side because I'm trying to pop that gas. And you can tell, I'll touch a client and they're like, oh, I'm like, it's trapped gas in that valve. The minute I crack that through, A, your pain will be gone, but B, I've just opened up the doorway for your small intestine to dump into your bin, meaning I've just provided more for me to clean out, but more importantly, I've backfilled your large intestine, which is going to help you push a release through. And with that fail, it happens every time. And so I always teach my clients, I'm like, you know, the biggest thing about what I'm trying to bring to this experience with the colonic. It's not that I just want you to rely on me for the rest of your days. I want to teach you and educate you so you become more aware of your own being and your own self. And, you know, the first thing I say is when you wake up in the morning, feel around, poke around, see what's happening. Do you feel like you're constipated? Do you feel like there's pain in certain areas that you can literally just start to get some motion and movement and massaging and seeing if it moves, it's gas. If it's not moving and it's staying stagnated and it's hard to push, it's probably constipation.
Yeah. Wow. And how common like you would have had a lot of people come from the cleanse to you, hey?
Yeah, heaps.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how common do you find parasites are, like whether they're on the cleanse or not on the cleanse?
Oh my God. I was saying to you earlier, I don't think I've done pretty much, out of about 98% of the clients I have ever treated have had at least one liver fluke.
Yeah.
I'm yet to see a human being that hasn't, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Like we are all fucking riddled. And you know, the most fascinating thing is they hold no mercy. Because I see the pinnacles of health walk through my doors. You know, people who are famous for their health and famous for what they actually do preach but live by in the health and well-being sector. And yet they have moved more critters than I've ever seen. So they really do hold no mercy. And I think the biggest thing I like to explain to people, because, you know, 90% of the time people come in and if I see like liver toxicity, lots of it coming through, the first thing they say is, but I don't drink alcohol. I'm like, duh. Like alcohol's honestly like 5% of the problem that's being implemented on your liver. I'm like, we are being absolutely pounded every day in regards to what our liver is processing. Your liver is processing everything you eat, drink, breathe, touch, think, and feel. That's what your liver's doing.
Yeah.
Environmentally, there are factors now that are completely out of our doing and out of our control that are heavily impacting our liver every single day. The crops we're eating from, the air we're breathing that's then touching our skin is being manipulated every day with the shit that they're spraying in our skies. So it's the inevitable that our livers are heavily compromised now. And that's why, unfortunately, and going back to what you were saying before, we cannot get away with not detoxifying now. We're not living the way we used to be living. You know, I'll tell you this fascinating story. Sorry, I just thought about it then. This will blow your mind. Oh, I hope I won't get into trouble sharing this actually. Just maybe look into this. I had a farmer. So he's a farmer. He has crop out the back of Malani area. And he came to me and said, do you know what's happened to me this week? He's like, the control for organic, so the higher powers of who classify you as organic or not, have come and said to me that the regulations for organic have been changed. And he said to me, he's like, they have gone and changed the requirement because the shit that they were spraying in the skies was making all these organic farmers now not qualify for organic.
Wow.
And they were proving that they weren't changing their soils. They weren't changing anything that they've been doing for fucking 10, 15, 20 years. The only element that changed was the shit that was falling onto their soil or onto their crops through what they're spraying in the skies. So now the organic qualification has been modified to suit them spraying on the crops.
So they're allowed a certain level of pesticides now, I guess.
Literally.
Fuck.
Yeah. Isn't that insane?
Shows
And
you
this
really
is what
gotta
I mean.
wash
Like
your
there's,
veggies.
you know, and it's so sad. I see people all the time. They're like, we're trying our best. You know, we're trying to buy organic where we can afford it. We're trying to buy the better meats and feed my kids better quality foods. And it's really sad because I sit there and I'm like, I'm so proud of you for trying. But like, we're getting fucked left, right and center.
Especially in Australia too. It's it's just so cultish, the government. It's just like,
oh yeah,
it's really like, yeah, I watched a thing yesterday that Paul Check shared, and it was like something about like how we're born into pretty much like a prison. And I know it's like you can't fall down that rabbit hole of like it's that negative, and it's not, because you ultimately have control. But like if you think like if we were to rise up and get like 100 people or 200 people and say, hey, let's start organic farming. No more like chemtrails, no more nothing. You know what I mean? Imagine how much shit you'd kick up and how much your business would suffer because you'd be shut down.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like you want to be powerful, but you don't want to be too powerful because
100%.
it's like, look at Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
It's like he's too powerful and like they come after you. It's like, and who's they? And you're like, is it negative or is it this? It's got to do with like the money behind it. It's all to do with money, hey?
It's all
Which
it
is sad.
Like
It's
Sheridan. Look at Sheridan's product.
I know.
Yeah, like they make her take down real reviews.
Yeah.
Because pharmaceutical isn't because food can't be medicine. I was like,
Dude.
who behind like that shit's gonna change. I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't because I mean now like with the states right with RFK getting in
that's what I was
they're
thinking.
bringing a huge shift into that
I
whole
know.
because they're like the worst over there too. Their organic standards way worse than ours. You know, and all their waterways are fucked, and that country needs help in that scheme of things, but. Generally, we follow them a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So now this level of awareness has started with people like yourself, like
I'm
us.
praying that, you know, I was all for the Trump campaign because I more so for the people that he's got beneath him. He's just the face of it, really. Because I'm praying that JFK starts to really change the directory of where we're going with our health and well-being. Like it's been so morphed and it's so obvious. It's becoming so obvious that I think they're going to have to be like, oh, we better change something.
Yeah.
now.
Like think about Hayden that couldn't get a power wall in his house, Hayden and Tiff.
Oh, yeah.
So they wanted to be off the grid. The government's like, no, you're not allowed. You got to make sure you pay us electricity. You can't have your own electricity in a house in Matala near the beach.
Wow.
And I'm like, fuck. Like
I
it
know,
makes me.
that
I hate that
control.
feeling of
I hate
like,
that.
don't tell me what to do.
We're so
you know?
similar like that, man.
Yeah.
But you know what the crazy thing is? I watched this doco again the other day called Firewater, and it's all about Australian tap water.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
if you want to watch it, like it's fucking shocking.
I went down those deep rabbit holes because I'm like a Nagic. I have a Nagic, so Kangen water in my clinic. I'm not a rep. I don't on-sell it because I'm too busy with the clinic. But I am hugely full on about water and the quality of water. And I think, you know, people really don't actually understand the importance of water and the quality of water you're putting through yourself.
It's the best detoxification you can
It
have.
is purely, did you know that water is the hydration from water? If you go back centuries ago, they were actually traditionally using coconuts for hydration and water for detoxification. Okay. Your cells can only absorb so much on a hydration level. It's water is predominantly for your body to detoxify. Yep. That's why it is so important. That's why if you overdrink it, your body will just literally pee it right out because it doesn't need it. Your hydration level is there.
It keeps things moving. But the point I was making is like if you look into it, like, and what the fluoride they're actually putting in our water is sulfuric fluoride. It's not calcium fluoride. So the calcium fluoride's actually different. It's what they put on your teeth, which is still shit for your teeth anyway. That's been well debunked now. But it's crazy. It's a mining chemical runoff that is from mining. Yeah. And they wanted to put it in the ocean, but it was too detrimental at high volumes to do that. So then they put it in our water because it's the easiest way to get rid of it, to distribute it through our water, which is I think like it's like 7 for a liter, it's like 0.07 micrograms or something like that of it in our water. Wow. So, but they're like, okay, so that's not enough to harm humans. But there's been no like cumulative effects of it, like studies done. It's just unbelievable, man. Yeah. And we're fully, like, I tried to look on Google. I was like, fluoride in our water, and everything says great for your teeth. I know. I'm like, well, why are we consuming it? Like, it's just, I'm like, but you'd be surely so like RFK could bring, like, you know, he could bring some light on this, and especially for Australia.
He is. I think he's already like, that's one of the first things I think he's doing.
Like, but honestly, it's the shunning of education around it. Like I see it all the time.
Yeah, the shunning of it. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I have so many clients that genuinely have no awareness around tap water being bad for them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what do you mean?
Well, that's 85%, not more,
and
90%.
I'm like, wow. And I really have to like kind of take that step back and, you know, again, take away my own ego, because I'm like, what do you mean you don't know about water and how bad the tap water is for you? And again, it's like bringing that level of education, but you don't know what you don't know. And think about it. Your everyday John and Sally who sit in front of the TV in the morning and watch the news while they eat their breakfast, and then they read the paper while they eat their lunch, and then they watch the news while they eat their dinner. They're being fed one narrative. That is it. You know, and that's where I have to really remind myself, I'm so fucking happy I'm in this generation.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
We have the internet.
We have the internet.
Not
we
just
have
the TV.
Yeah. And we have real people on the internet giving us their mixed narrative as well, obviously detrimental as well. But, you know, it's not just that one government-led, which is what the news was and is for them. And so, you know, I really try and re-educate. And it's so nice. And, you know, you guys are the same, to have this beautiful platform, me and my clinic when I'm one-on-one with this client, and I can say like, right, I really want you to start to rethink about the water that you're drinking. Like number one change, you know, maybe look at Montville water or filterization that you can afford or.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like pretty often now we get people come up to us and sort of say however we impacted their life. And recently I was at the Real Grocer. Well, yesterday actually this guy come up and said he's back and shit's better and what he's been following us. But recently this lady came up with her son. Her son was so tall, and he seemed like I thought he was like gonna be sort of like almost like Eshe sort of, right? But let's say you can't assume, It's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I just saw them walk in, and then she come up and goes, I just want to say, like, you guys have changed my entire family's life. Like, we all eat this way now. Like, my kids, everything, they follow you, like, all this sort of stuff. And I sometimes find it, I'm getting better at saying yes, like, thank you to the compliments, you know? But I'm like, isn't that cool, man? Like, the whole bloodline changes. And we're just one step in that circle because someone did it to us, right? But that's how I'm saying it, to inspire, like, even people listening to this right now that shift. 2 of their friends generally shift, and 2 of their friends shift. And truth transcends time. So it just ripples out like dropping a pebble in the water until all of a sudden, you know, there's always going to be the balance. There's always going to be the tap water, you know, there's always going to be that. But just bringing the awareness to it, to where you spend your money, because that's where the world changes. I don't see it as all these people have these big plans to do this and do that. Like, I know that's part of the equation, but I see it all as just money. It's all like, okay, fluoride, how do we sell this? I watch the making of vegetable oil, all these byproducts, they sell that. There's the feed to the cattle, there's the seed. It's just money. How can we make money out of this? And where we spend money is like, oh, okay, these people want to eat organic food. Now maybe a big corporation will buy an organic farm and do it to the way we want, assuming we're going to pay the money for it. So it's all back to money, hey? And where we spend our dollar.
Yeah. Down. What about this? I want to talk to you about this Anagic thing, because I know it's like, I did a bit of my own research on it, and I know it's got 3 filters in it, right? So it filters out a few things, but doesn't filter like nowhere near as good as a reverse osmosis filter. No,
but I think it's more because it puts the magnesium and the hydrogen into the water. Yeah. So I would say it's more that element that makes it.
But people buying Anagic stuff, like you're not filtering the water properly before you add the hydrogen and the structure back in. So it still goes through the 3 levels of filter. I don't think it is maybe not as beneficial as being like a completely separate filtered first. That's probably a conversation because I don't sell it for a reason. But because again, ultimately it's about the money. Like, you know. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's great. I'm not taking away from it. I fucking invested 11 grand into 2 because but you know, I did that investment to not even benefit off that investment. It's because I wanted to give my clients better quality water when they finish their colonic. It's a step in the right direction, 100%. So, you know, that was my pure investment. Cool. People say to me all the time, oh, so do you sell it? I'm like, oh, nah. Yeah, I could most definitely. I'm a rep, qualified rep, because I bought one, but I don't. That's not. Busy enough. That's not where my passion is, though. You know, I want you to drink better water by no means, but like this is where I'm passionate, and that's in that colonic room with you. Yeah.
What do you feel like? I've been thinking about this a lot lately myself. What do you feel like you're on this earth to do?
I've been thinking about that a lot lately too. I think.
Like outside of children and everything, I mean more like your
my sole purpose.
Yeah.
I'm definitely here to make a change and a ripple on effect. I can feel that. I can already see it's happening. You know, I literally have people tell me, and I mean, this is so funny because that person comes to you and like, we've changed the way we eat and thank you so much. People come to me and they're like, we talk about shit in the household. We're asking what did it look like? What did it smell like? What texture was it? But like, I can proudly say that me individually and my brand have genuinely been a part of that big movement right now. You know, it's small scale. Like it's here on the sunny coast, but that's where it all starts is in your backyard.
Well, you'll touch 1 million people plus from that. Like I know Jordan Peterson talks about this. Like you change yourself, you change your friend group, that changes. It reaches 1 million people for one person, which is crazy.
Yeah,
you think about that. So imagine that you probably a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you know, I find that incredible. Like I'm so honored to be, I believe, chosen to be one of those carriers in this lifetime that gets to have a voice and have enough passion in an area that is truly going to change the world, because I'm changing the way people view their health and their gut health and their bowel function and how they talk about gut health to their kids. And, you know, that's where it becomes that next generational pass down. You know, I would love to get a program into schools and to teach children about their shit, literally. You know, at what point should you tell mommy and daddy that wasn't a healthy poo? You know, and take away the shun from that, because we're still in that halfway line between the generation who are like, we do not talk about that around the dinner table, you know, and yet we're in the generation where I'm having strangers come up to me at the plaza and like, can I show you a picture of what I passed the other day on the toilet? I'm like, yes, show me now, send it to me, which I know you guys would get as well. With like,
have you seen our cleanse group?
Yeah.
I literally had someone say the other day, I had to leave. Like, it's just like, there's pictures of shit. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah,
like, that's what it's about. Like, let's not like, it's not taboo anymore.
No.
It's like, if your shit doesn't look healthy, then that's your report card.
But again, it was all the programming that we've had, you know. Colonics used to be used in hospitals. They were literally a first point of call for an inpatient. So they were more proactive to hydrate a patient, because your colon is like your second lung. So bringing hydration to your colon is like a powerhouse for hydration for the entire system. And it leaches out into your bloodstream. It gets around really, really quickly. And they also believe that obviously 90% of dis-ease starts within the colon. So it'd give you a colonic. Colonics then got removed and banned from hospitals before they actually went into the mental health units as well, because of the mental clarity that they were starting to notice the difference in the mental health system. But they got removed and banned, and coincidentally in swooped penicillin. And penicillin came into hospitals. And that was that big shift where everything changed, and Big Pharma was like on its train ride. And that it's been like that ever since. And so, you know, I think this is not my first lifetime. I'm sure I was around in, you know, those eras and times. And I think that's why I'm now here this time, to kind of bring light back to that and bring back the true essence of health and well-being and gut health, and going back to something so natural, being water supply.
What's some other, like, you were talking about before, you see, like, you've been seeing some crazy parasite from people coming back from Mexico, eh? And what does it look like? What is it?
Fuck, honestly, cut that out. They're huge, number one. So they're the biggest one I move. So I was saying I had 3 clients all come back from Mexico, 2 women. One was a professional surfer. The other one was a surf instructor. And the other one was a guy who lived there for 2.5 years. So I don't know if it's maybe the ocean water. I don't know, because they maybe had something in common with the ocean water, but they all had the same symptoms and the same parasite that came out. None of them did a cleanse, by the way. It was just the colonic that did this, but they were about that big, and that's in diameter. So like that long, that fat, brown slug looking alien.
Yeah. What's up with the slugs, eh?
And you know what? I think it was the surfer. I kid you not, I ran this water and immediately her pressure gauge went woo. And I was like, whoa, something's there, because that's how you then know that there's something low lying. And I brought down my water speed, and I crept some more water in. Out came the gas, and I said to her, I was like, something big's going to come, because I just knew. And all of a sudden this thing came out, and she had 3
Wow.
back to back. That guy came out, gas, another one, gas, another one. Wow. And like, I'm not kidding you. When I've got videos of them, you can literally see like the eyes on these fucking things. They're a beast.
Yeah.
And they all move the exact same parasite.
Wow.
They all had this big brown, like light brown, dark brown, sluggy thing come out.
It'd be the food. Like, I remember I got deathly sick over there. I thought I was gonna die, and I know that like they're kind of stricter now with like washing their lettuce, and because you know, like in tacos they'll have a lot of lettuce and stuff. But I got told, but like in the back end, like the chefs are just kind of like, you know, like so you get used to that water, and there's so much in there. Like Dill's missus from Pargo, she got fucking deathly sick from having the water.
Yeah, I know her. I spoke to her about a lot of that.
Yeah, Mexico is just like so nuts.
Yeah. Honestly, like hands down, I always say to clients, I'm like, man, the craziest things come from Mexico.
Yeah. Fully.
I also had this one, oh my God, I'll never forget this. True, cool story actually. So this would have been about a year and a half ago. One of my clients came to me, and first ever colonic, and she was moving. So she wasn't a constipated client. She had regular bowel motion, but just hadn't been feeling well for a long time, a bit off. She came, and every single movement I got out of her was a rock hard constipated poo, like proper boulders.
Wow.
But every single one of them had coiled pieces of metal.
Whoa.
They look like a grenade.
Whoa.
Yep.
Poo
I'm not
grenade.
kidding you. Like an actual, like coiled piece of metal coming out of them. We did the colonic, and she said to me, she's like, I've never moved a poo like that. Like, I'm not a constipated pooer. And I'm like, don't underestimate what is harvesting inside of you, even though you have a daily bowel motion. Like, that means jack shit, literally, because there is so much more in there that you're not even aware of. I believe her body never passed this, because they would quite literally cut up her bum as they were trying to move. But she then told me afterwards, she's like, oh my God, I don't know why I didn't connect. She was pescatarian for 7 year and ate salmon, Tasmanian salmon every single day for 7 years. And it must have been because the nanoparticles of heavy metals magnetize to each other, and they will literally form metal.
Wow.
Dude.
Yeah.
You can't have salmon every day. And it would have been farm salmon too.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, but that's the thing. What you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, people don't know that farm salmon.
Yeah, they're like, salmon's so good for you. Okay, cool. I'll have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
For 7 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
That is pretty gnarly. Hey? Yeah, like fuck, it's the crate, and it's just so people don't know about it. It's like we got this. We knew about it from Paul, because Paul's been talking about it for 30 years.
Yeah,
you know, and Paul's actually got all pictures of poos in his book, How to Even Be Healthy, which is like, that was the first time I got exposed to like
poopy
this
policeman.
Poopy policeman. He's got this art of like, this is this poo when you're having too much protein. This is this poo when you have too much fat. This is a parasite poo, and for a long time, but because we only started selling the parasite cleanse purely from the Czech teachings of being taught, oh, here's a questionnaire. If they score high in this, they generally have a parasite.
Yeah.
Put them on a parasite cleanse.
Yeah.
So then we created the parasite cleanse, right? But I could not believe, even then, you know, you're taught, even the CDC say like 85% or something people have a parasite infection. But I was like, surely not, you know, surely not in Australia. Like in Australia, they think it's all random. You got to get tested. Plus you pass the test. And fuck, there's so many people, like you're saying, liver flukes.
My youngest client that I do is 8. And I've had 2 8-year-olds that were riddled with liver flukes.
Yeah, wow.
Riddled.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on the ADHD bandwagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder where everyone's getting it all from, hey? Like in Australia, like sushi's pretty big.
Yeah, sushi. I reckon like anything commercially raised. Like, remember I saw a thing on cows the other day, and how like protozoa is a big thing, so blood parasite, and saying how it gets up into their brain and gets them to choose where to eat. So the cows are
Yeah.
actually like we're eating. Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So like I'm like, fuck, it's in everything. So like you can't afford in this day and age. Like I don't hear. There's no excuse to not eat organic.
No.
Just find where you're getting good quality meat from.
Yeah.
Make it a priority. Sell your fucking car. Like you don't need a flashy car if you can't eat good food. Like it has to be at the top, you know, the very top of your core values.
Yeah.
I just think though, like I say, it's just the inevitable. Like I've treated the person who eats amazing organic produce, you know, you guys, you know her, and like you look at her and you're like, she is health. She is walking health. And yet her toilet bowl at the end of her colonic was about 150 floating liver flukes.
Yeah.
That was after the colonic, after I've just cleaned her out and then the remainder came through.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's more than that. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
That needs to be our starting point. But, you know, how long do they live on a surface for? How are they in our soil? Are we walking on them? There's parasites that literally come through your feet. Like, are we meant to never not wear shoes again? Like, there's definitely, I think we just need to understand that we're all going to have them. We all have them.
We have to live in symbiosis with them.
Yeah.
And it's only a problem when it's an infection.
Yeah.
Like we do live with them. But the fact of the matter is you got to cultivate enough energy so
sure.
you're not so hot so they don't draw to you. Because like if you're inflamed, that's when they're going to take your body over. And it's funny because they do hide on yoga mats. They do hide in hospitals.
Yeah.
So it's like the majority of them are actually in hospitals because they prey on the weak. Like you said, it's like a demonic entity, which is so
They really
fascinating.
are. And you know what? I'm of huge belief that 5G is literally 5G wasn't created to like affect you and I as a human being. It is because it irritates the parasite. When they send that frequency out, they are so much more receptible to frequency than we are as a human being and our vibration. It's these little fuckers that are getting ignited by the 5G that then run rogue in us. I'm a huge believer.
I've heard something about that, but I haven't looked into it. Yeah, I know Paul does a parasite cleanse 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, there's a lot of cultures that will do a full gut cleanse. So like parasite cleansing, colonics, enema, like intense enema usage at the change of every season because your body's going to harvest differently for every season that we go through. And so there's heaps of cultures around the world that will do their version of a deep clean out, deep cleanse per season of
and
the
it's
year.
different every time. Like this time I'm doing it early and I'm pre-filming because I'm going to Japan.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it and this time's been probably one of the hardest times I've done it. And I weaned off coffee. I did everything right.
Yeah.
But this time it's just been like, you know, and I think there's something deeper going on there, but like it's cool. It's like, and we need it. We need a cleanse. We need to like reset every year. And it's so important because just take my word for this. Like before you start the cleanse, you'll be questioning, why am I doing this? You'll be like, fuck, you know, I just like, I've done it before. For me, I've done it 5-6 times, whatever. But once you get on it, you go, oh, I understand why now. Like I need this. And it's like, you only get that clearness from doing it.
Yeah.
But before it, you're like, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah. 100%.
You
your
know,
whole
it's
body just you look in the mirror one morning like, oh fuck, I can look like this all the time. You know, and those days that you're feeling a bit puffy and shit.
Yeah.
You realize, oh, that's some food I ate, but like you don't get that on the cleanse.
No.
Because you just, or how could you, right?
Well, Ben, I actually got it this morning from Sweet Potato.
Okay.
I woke up puffy.
So maybe
And I was
there is like because you know how like I think candida gets amplified after antibiotics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Massive.
It was there's something like since having antibiotics, everything's been different for me.
Yeah.
Like it's not good shit. Like I'm on heaps of sups for it right now and just eating healthy, but like fuck antibiotics, dude.
I know.
That's
I'm
why
on
like
some now and I'm so upset about it. I haven't been on an antibiotic for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I bloody got a kidney infection the other week and I had to. Like I was borderline.
Well, yeah,
being
like
rushed to
obviously
ED,
there's times for it, hey. And I had to too. Like I had a staph thing that was growing at a rapid pace and I was trying to heal it naturally and it was getting more painful.
Staph is so big at the moment.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well, yeah.
I was talking to a client
Sugar.
yesterday. Like it's actually a thing at the moment though on the coast. Staph.
True.
Like it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
through
Fucking
like the daycares, the schools. Like there's a full
Maybe the heat at
flare
the
up.
moment. Yeah. It's always been big in
Humidity.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, they're
Heat,
changing.
sunlight and
There's
sugar.
a lot of it. Yeah,
Blood sugar. Like if you're I spoke to Carlos Sanchez, a great doctor, about it, and he was like, man, sugar. If you're having excess sugar, which I was at the time, 100% you get staph.
Yeah.
Because I've never had staph. I rolled for 8 years. Everyone gets staph in the gym. I never get it. And then I was having like a few more loco loves than I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And I got staph. Like I was having probably one a day for, I reckon, like 3 weeks.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, it's just like I was just like, I don't know, I just love them, you know? I'm like, it's healthy chocolate.
Yeah.
But if you look on the back, and it is healthy chocolate and everything in moderation, right? But it's full of sugar.
Still high.
Everything is
content
full of sugar.
Yeah.
It's high content sugar. Even
Candida. Oh my gosh. Candida in the clinic is 99% of clients have candida.
and that just comes through like it just looks like a yellowy.
Yellow foam.
Foam, yeah. True.
And so the first thing I say to like especially men is check the toilet bowl after you do a wee. If there's any film of yellow foam or film around the bowl that sticks to the bowl wall of a foam, it's candida.
Okay.
And like candida it's
the hardest.
it's the most common element I probably come across.
What's some crazy shit you've seen on people coming in and doing like our cleanse? Like, because I know you would have dealt with some constipations.
Yeah, heaps.
Because like it seems to be more female. I've experienced, like, why do females seem to get constipated so much more than the guys? Maybe you've dealt with a lot of guys with constipation. I don't know.
No, I think there's definitely a huge emotional element to it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Women are naturally living in this, the way we've created our way of living now. We're highly strung. We're so stressed out. We're producing way too much cortisol and we're living in a fight or flight state. And immediately your whole being goes into, let's keep our shit together.
Yeah.
And think about exactly that saying. And that's what it's going to do. It harvests and holds your shit in. And that's why women, and this is a big thing of why I'm so passionate about the schooling. That's where the problem starts with constipation. They shun you about going to the toilet. They rush you to go to the toilet. And therefore kids are holding all day. And then they run through that door coming home. I need the toilet. Because they've just been holding on a shit for 8-9 hours. So females, it's a big one because of, I think, the cognitive emotional element of it more than anything else. But honestly, the liver flukes, like, oh my God.
It's crazy.
I can tell when a client's even on the cleanse if they didn't tell me they were on the cleanse. By far, the biggest shift I see is way more liver flukes, like hundreds coming through their systems. It's
That's
insane.
what we see too, hey?
Yeah.
Just rolled up leaf looking things. Like,
because some people are like tomato skins, and I was like, oh, they're tomato skins, and then I got them, and I was like, that's not tomato skins. It's 3 days. 3 days.
Tomato
of
skin, actually, the acidity that we produce in our system, you'll never see a tomato skin come through like that. It breaks
like
it up.
rolled up. I know.
No, but actually, there's acidity in our system will completely break up tomato skin.
Yeah.
That's why they're like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
not.
I think I've seen one.
200
Look at
tomatoes.
this thing under the microscope and you can see its hook. Like I can see them when
The
they're
little
coming
hook.
through with their hook.
And do you see, when I had it, I had like little like sesame seeds.
Yeah,
Have you seen-
tiny. It's oh my God. It's a parasite. Blasto.
Right.
So it's a blasto. It's a type of parasite that come through as a tiny little black seed, and you'll see.
Well, this was a white seed.
Thousands.
Oh, not white, like yellow, like.
Oh no, gallstones. Gallstones.
Maybe. Well, I'm talking like.
Some of them can
smaller
be
than rice,
small,
maybe.
big. They can change in size, and they're like an odd shaped ball.
This was
and
like an
they're
oval shape.
pale yellow.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I know gallstone. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No, this came with the liver flukes, and one I actually opened up like the mucus sac.
Yeah.
And one was inside of it.
Right.
Like it was like it was inside the mucus sac, but then after that, about 100 of them come with liver flukes. So I didn't know if it was liver fluke eggs or not.
So your liver actually produces its own stone.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you know how we have our gallstones?
Yeah.
Your liver produces its own. So sometimes when a client is detoxing the liver big time, they'll get what looks like a baby egg.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like as in shaped like a baby egg.
So do you reckon it was liver stones detoxing the
I
liver
think
flukes?
so. A massive liver detoxification.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
then one was in that mucus ball. I was like, what is this mucus ball? It was like almost like a mushroom or something, you know?
Speaking of mushrooms, oh my God, do you eat a lot of mushrooms? Do you eat
Not
a lot of
really.
mushrooms? Oh, damn. Because
Why?
I was like, oh, I can't wait to do your colonic. I am of firm belief that mushrooms were literally put on this planet for medicinal use only. They should be compounded and put into a powder or a liquid form. They should not be consumed because they are the number one element I move through a colonic that absolutely does not break down. Like they come out whole and they come out about 3 times their size. I treated a client about 3 weeks ago who had constipation, severe constipation, hadn't gone to the toilet. She doesn't normally have that. The only thing I moved out for 45 minutes in her colonic was inflamed, swollen mushroom.
Because I had that in Bali. I thought maybe it was mushrooms, but I didn't know if that was like a mucousy or type of parasite sort of mushroom thing. Because you're not allowed mushrooms on like Doug Hoffman's cleanse, right?
No.
Yeah, you're not allowed any of the mushrooms.
Honestly, you would be shocked when you see how mushrooms come through in a colonic.
Wow.
Like, and they
Even
are
cooked?
cooked, like raw, even cut up tiny. Your body's doing nothing with it. And leafy greens, don't even get me started. Leafy greens, not only do I see them come through completely whole, it looks like someone just literally Popeyed, like, a bag of leafy greens because they do not break down. But they actually start to change color and they become a fluorescent green, like a highlighter green. Like they look like a fake piece of plastic.
Yeah, wow.
Leafy greens, mushrooms and corn. I will never.
Even
I
say
don't
if it was
touch
like
them.
baby spinach cooked.
Baby spinach is worst.
Really?
Oh my God, like
What if it's
completely
cooked?
whole. I've had cooked, raw.
Yeah,
a lot of my
right.
clients have them cooked.
That's fascinating, eh?
And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'm no nutritionist or scientist, but like I'm going directly to the source and I'm
that's your report
directly
card, eh?
seeing what digests and what doesn't. And if something is coming out completely whole, your body had no use for it. It wasn't, and the crazy thing about those 3 elements, they're not even being utilized as foliage because they never are attached to anything. They come out as a cluster by themselves. So that's all they've done is just move through, back you up, web inside of your colon, and then shit out if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But then a client never does a poo like that. So I'm like, how long is this stuff just sitting inside of you?
That's interesting, man.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, because I know like I was reading this thing on the oxalates or whatever, and apparently like cooking it still has like pretty well most of the oxalates for sometimes, but obviously you eat how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, eh?
Yeah, like I definitely-
your soul. There's a deeper level to everything on this planet. I think. Like,
Yeah.
if you listen
Like Rocket.
to
I love
truly-
Rocket.
Yeah.
I love Rocket.
Yeah. Well, it's just randomly lately I've been eating a lot of spinach.
Yeah.
And like it feels good.
I like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
Especially
I mean,
with
don't get me
protein,
wrong.
yeah.
This isn't every single human. Like, and I'm not saying everybody stop eating it, but it's just fascinating when you kind of hear about what the client's bowel motion's been like, and then all of a sudden you see the correlation between what is completely backed up inside of them and coming through as whole. And even with those clients, I never say to them, firstly, stop eating that. I'm like, okay, well, let's play around with the gut enzyme that you're potentially missing. You know, start incorporating. I love apple cider vinegar before their meals. So that's the first thing I say. Start incorporating, diluted apple cider vinegar because maybe your stomach is just missing an enzyme at the moment.
That helps
so,
the acid in your stomach break everything down, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, it's not like I'm just don't eat it because I'm actually really against that. And it's the same as when clients come to me, they're like, oh, I've all of a sudden developed this newfound intolerance as like a 37-year-old man. And I'm like, okay, and what have you been told? Oh no, remove it and maybe try gluten-free or a sugar-free option of it. I'm like, why don't we assess the environment, the product that you've been eating for 37 years that's never changed its formulation is going into? Because I can guarantee you that environment has changed over the last 37
and it will
years.
change if you're eating. Say if I ate sweet potato for 10 years straight and I ate it every single day, you eventually become intolerant to that.
Yep.
So you do need to rotate your diet. That's the hugest
fully.
thing. It's like, Chinese eat like I think there's 170 different species of animals.
Yeah.
I noticed the other day I was sitting there and I was thinking about the subtleties of it all, and it's tapping into the subtleties of your body. And I was thinking about, because I had lamb, beef, but I didn't have fish at home. I had lamb, beef, I had all these animals, right? But I didn't have fish. But I tapped into like, do I want beef? Do I want lamb? Do I want fish? And the subtlety was fish. My body wanted fish, right? And then But if I had fish, I had to end up having the steak because I couldn't be fucked getting the fish. But anyway, steak was still pretty good.
Yeah.
But the subtlety within myself was a knowing of fish. But and then I had the steak, right? But the next day, most definitely I didn't want the steak. It wasn't subtle anymore. It was like I had steak the day before. Part of me doesn't want steak 2 days in a row, but it really wants the fish now. So that fish subtlety went stronger. But then if I have the fish, then it won't want fish the next day. Unless it did one day, unless maybe I want 2 servings of fish. But that's the subtleties that's always within yourself with this guidance. And it's really fun connecting to. I feel I'm getting really better at connecting more so with my food.
Yeah.
Of like, what animal needs to die for me to live today?
But don't underestimate. It's because your temple is clean and your soul, mind, and decision maker, being your gut, is clean. So it's a healthy environment, meaning it can give you more consciousness. It can give you more of your intuition. And that's why I always say to clients, you know, when you want to change direction in the way you're eating, if you want to deep dive into a good new direction with a cleanse or whatever it might be, give your body a clean space to think from, being your gut, so your gut instinct, but B, a clean bin. You need a safe space for your body to drop toxicity and drop, we didn't need that, we didn't love that, we'll get rid of that. We got to utilize that, keep that, we'll send it that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, really give yourself the credit back in that, like, you've created that knowing and that intuition by having.
A lot of people don't have that connection, and I was one of them, of course.
Nah.
I didn't know eating KFC was going to make me feel shit until I was 18 years old, you know? And I feel I'm grateful for that because I can empathize with people that are just off. Like I've told this story on the podcast before when my friend said, "Oh, I've got bipolar," but this guy asked me what I ate, and I was like, "Ate? Like this is a medical condition." You know what I mean? Like that's where my head was at the time.
Yeah.
So I've been there and I understand what it's like to be almost brainwashed. But once you start to clean out, and like you said earlier, water is the most important thing. Once you start to clean out, just start with good water.
Yeah.
And then things start to shift. Your whole life changes because you actually start to get clear messages and you start to feel better and you look better. And then you're like, oh, maybe I'll just like have some organic meat, or, you know, like you start making better decisions and it snowballs. It's like Callan didn't get super clean overnight. Like he started just going fucking like prepping his food, and then it just went, you know,
Like
probably
years.
did it. Yeah, it's years, but you probably did it 10 times faster than most.
But, you know, it's the same as like with the water, with a colonic. Like I say, bringing even just that level of hydration to a client can have that immediate effect. They'll come literally finish on the toilet, sit down, they're like, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
I feel clearer in my headspace and I feel lighter in myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's hydration. That's how powerful and quick the effects of good quality hydration can be. And it's also, you know, when you're harvesting old fecal matter, stuck diarrhea, liver toxicity, excess cortisol, excess hormones within your large intestine are webbing. So it can literally leach out the wall of it. And it's then going to get straight back into your bloodstream. And now you are going to circulate all the shit that your body naturally tried to dump. But because we're not in, you know, most of society aren't in an equal balance between production and elimination, we're overproducing the cortisol, overproducing the liver toxicity and the shit, but we're not having the great bowel motion. There's too much time in between where this crap can literally leach out the wall of your colon and circulate into your bloodstream.
And that's just leaky gut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The best way to heal that is like get Jo Whitton's book, Simple Healing Foods. Have you seen that?
Do you know who Jo Whitten is?
Nah.
Oh, fuck,
Amazing
you love
cookbook.
her.
Yeah.
Best cookbook.
Yeah,
Really?
by far.
you have a
Life-changing
thermo?
foods. And
No.
Get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
you can join my Thermomix thing. I only get a kickback of like $1,000, but like, no, I'm joking.
Money.
No, we had her
And
on
you
the
can get my Kangen machine if you like.
We'll swap.
we had her on the podcast years ago, and she had a real bad gut issues. The kid was her child was OCD and all this sort of stuff, but it was the gut, and she just started basic slow cooks, lamb shanks, like the basic protocol of just really easy to digest food, bringing that in and cutting out the intolerances for long enough until her gut healed. Like she couldn't handle any dairy, and now she can have like butter and ghee, and she looks so healthy too.
Yeah, you can just tell, huh? It's like life force energy.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So where do people, if they want to book in with you, follow you, how does it all happen?
Yeah, so on Instagram, we're Naruby Wellness. Naruby actually means inside out. And you can directly book through a booking link on there. Otherwise, www.narubywellness.com.au.
And Naru.
Naruby.
Yeah.
Yep, Naruby.
Yeah, nice. And we'll Jake's gonna go on. We're gonna film it. We'll film the process. Get that gas pocket out of you, dude. Yeah. And I reckon I'll come on the cleanse because I do the cleanse January 2nd.
Yeah.
Because I go to Japan January 30. So I'll finish on the day before I go to Japan.
Yeah, sick.
So
that's perfect.
I reckon perfect. Like probably the best time would be like
extract
at the end of the extract, eh?
Yeah.
So I know all that leftover charcoal's out of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited.
Jeez, sometimes I've treated clients who have done the protocol and I'm still moving extract out of them like 8-9 weeks later.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Because if their system isn't getting rid of it and if they are harvesting a lot of old constipation because it's so dehydrated, the actual fecal matter is dehydrated, it's going to absorb all that extract and then they end up moving like pitch black poo.
Yeah.
And you can literally see
cool.
the
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I had like a little rolled up leaf in my poo the other day.
Yeah.
I've been checking. I've been watching my shit. But I think I don't know. It looked like a little rolled up leaf, but it was only one. So I don't know. But I'm interested to see.
It's so
I hope I should have some
fascinating.
fucking good shit.
Yeah.
I want a big worm to come out, eh?
Dude,
Right.
we're out of
You
there.
say that until you have it.
Yeah.
I moved out one of mine. It took me 8 years literally of colonics. And eventually I one day did a colonic and I felt so sick after it. I was like, that did not feel good. That's not how I usually feel. And then I was like, luckily I've got this so accessible to me. I was like, nah, I'm going to do another one the next day. Did another colonic and I was like, I feel worse. But I said to my partner, I was like, something's inside of me. I can just tell. The anxiety I was holding in my system was unfathomable. My jaw was chattering. I was struggling to talk to my clients. I'm not kidding you because I was like, my whole jaw felt like it was chattering and it was in a vice.
He was trying to take over your main control.
I'm not even kidding you. And my throat chakra, my throat felt like there was someone's hands around my throat.
Wow.
Next morning, I said to my partner, I was like, if I don't get this fucking thing out, there's no way I can work today. I'm crook. I'm riddled with anxiety. Went in, gas. I was like, something's coming straight away. I'm not kidding. Switched on my water. So the previous 2 colonics must have detached him, but he wasn't dead. So I think he's moved and then reattached to the wall of my colon, moved down, reattached to the wall, and then he was right down the bottom. And remember, you've got all your strongest nerves are right in your anus. So I think that's why I was feeling it so intensely.
For sure.
And then out came, and he would have been about that long.
Wow.
I caught him. I trapped him in the tubing, and I put him out on one of my little pads, my puppy pads, and I filmed it.
What was it?
It's gnarly, a tapeworm.
Oh, it was a tapeworm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge tapeworm.
Do you remember when you first come in, I go, you got a tapeworm? I don't know if you remember that.
No, I do.
Because out of all the symptoms, like, oh, this is
That's
tapeworm
why
symptoms.
I went into the cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you
But
had
this motherfucker would have been in me for years.
Yeah.
To
Oh,
be
yeah.
that big. And yeah, I do. I believe that they literally
and they're territorial. Do you know that?
yeah.
Yeah. So there'll be one in one end of the colon, and it won't go into the other one's ground. So I wonder. I guess the start of the colon's must be the big dog because he gets all the fresh stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the scraps for the little beta tapeworm
beta
at the end of the
tapeworm.
colon. And they share it, man. It's,
Dude,
But it was insane, the minute this thing came out of me, I kid you not, it quite literally felt like I was in one of those big metal vices around my face and someone just unloosened them and took them away, took them off. And I felt my whole jaw just relax and my whole system just went.
because they make you grind your teeth.
Yeah, massive. And
Yeah.
I wonder how the fuck does that thing, even in the moment, make you do that?
Yeah.
Like, what's the mechanism?
It's heavily linked to the central nervous system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're super sympathetically dominant, unconsciously you grind your teeth. So it'd be that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
100%.
do think it's because of the different areas where you've got these nerves attached
True.
to your large intestine that are connected to different organs around the body.
Yeah.
And when they're latching and feeding on that area, it's irritating it. So it's stimulating whatever life force or energetics are attached to that actual organ in the body. And that was all here. It was wild.
Fucking cool, man.
Let's see what you've got inside you.
Let's go. Fuck, there
Yeah.
might be another. It might be like that. Have you seen that movie Substance? I might just have another me come out of my butt.
A fetal version.
You just like come instantly. Have you had anyone orgasm?
No.
Thought you would have been
No.
25,000. Thought you that would have
Yeah.
been
What about
No.
like, any stiffies?
No, funnily enough, I've always kind of thought, I'm like, what if that does happen? But nah. Trust me.
It's not really a turn on. You know, it's like
Every single man comes in there and he's petrified.
Yeah, of
Like no man comes in. And
Yeah.
I always say, I'm like, trust me, the day you come in here so blasé, there might be a few questions you need to ask yourself.
for sure. Hey.
The funny
I'll tell you a funny story about
Yeah.
a man though. You'll find this hilarious because I did. When I first started in my own clinic, I used to have the client come in, explain to them everything and then get them to go do their wee and then they come back out and I would explain, I want you to lie flat on your back, use your little throw to cover yourself, head on the pillow, and then I'll come back in. So I'd leave the room. And I had two different men, because they're so anxious, they're not hearing anything I say. And I walked back in, and the way my room's positioned, I've got my door here. So I've walked in through the door and the treatment bed is here with the pillow this end, right? Both of these men were on all fours with the little blanket draped over the back of them.
What they thought you were just gonna.
They literally thought the whole thing was done in doggy position.
Did they insert themselves?
No, we insert. They didn't. No, they don't know how to touch any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just walk into this willy just flapping in the wind,
Oh,
and
my
I'm
God.
like, "Oh no, your other back, lie on your other back."
Yeah, not your knees and hands.
So he's
And
like
then I
on,
saw
all looking back at you.
All
like,
fours, just
yeah.
like, I'm ready.
Dude, you know,
and
it'd be-
I literally said to him, I was like, kudos to you for still rocking up today,
Yeah.
thinking that this is how this is going to go.
Fully. It's so like. Imagine like just saying to them like as soon as you slide the tube in, he's like, "Now you're gay.
Yeah. You like that, Dave?
You've lost your virginity."
But I'm so proud. You know, we're at about 60,
Yeah.
40% male, female. We have so many male clients and it honestly, it makes me so happy. And I always say to every single one of them, like, I'm so proud of you because it is so
It's a big
easy.
thing,
It's
yeah.
a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
Especially
for
if you
a
don't
man.
like butt play.
Yeah, well, and a lot of men just really have a strong disconnection
like
to
a-
that, understandably. But yeah, you know, it's, I always say, I'm like, trust me, that part is like 0.1 of a second. And then you're
Yeah.
back on your back, you're covered. I don't even see any anatomy of you again other than your stomach until the
Yeah.
very end. So,
Yeah.
and once they're on their back and they see that first element come through, all
Yeah.
inhibitions are left at the front door and they're like
you've
let's get
seen-
more of that
So
out.
do you see butts?
Yeah,
like-
I look at your bum.
Yeah. So like, is every butthole the same?
No, absolutely not. Every single bum
Wow.
hole is very
It's
different.
like a fingerprint, hey?
It really is. And you know what's so good though is like because like that's the scariest part for everybody. I don't even see it as a bum hole anymore, honestly. Especially
How could you?
I really
Yeah.
don't. I'm just like, just
Yeah.
get it in the right hole, Crystal. That's all
Yeah,
I'm thinking about.
Yeah, 25,000. It's funny that another lady told us that, someone in the cleanse, but in those open systems.
Yeah.
So you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And she goes, the guy was in there on all fours in doggy and he'd put it in himself somehow. Think about how hard that would have been, man. Because
Oh
you got to
my
like sit
God.
down. So he's obviously leaning down doggy and leant back and grabbed it and put it in himself. And she's walked in and was like, oh, no, just like the other way, like on your back. And he's just all vulnerable. He's like, oh shit, sorry. like,
man.
But this is why, you know, like I'm there guiding you the whole way
Yeah.
because
Yeah, fuck
people
yeah.
genuinely have
It
no
takes a certain type
idea.
of human.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
You
And
say-
I'm
and
very
you can or
proud
from,
to take
from
that.
feeling you on the podcast today. It's like and seeing you, it's like I can. See, you're meant for this.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's like you would feel comfortable because you're just like, no, this is
Cash.
it. Like
Yeah.
this is what we're fucking doing.
And there's no,
It's powerful.
you know, and I think that's probably the biggest compliment I possibly get from
Yeah.
clients. And something that really like that hits me more than anything else is thank you for making this feel so normal and so comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it should be. And
Yeah.
you know, and that's where I feel like we have really changed it. Like my clinic it's beautiful. It feels like you're coming for a luxury treatment in a stunning space, and that's how this should be seen, because it's actually a beautiful thing what we're doing. We're going into the deep depths of your health and well-being, and we're cleaning it out for you.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
Perfect end.
perfect, Dan. Thanks for coming on, Naruby Wellness. Check her
Yeah.
out. Cool 'em.
Yeah.
And you'll see the video of Jake getting it done in the future.
I'm going to be up on all fours.
Yeah,
So
up on all
get ready for
fours.
it.
Doggy.
Doggy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much love.